Okay, so good morning everyone. Thank you very much for coming. I want to tell you a little bit about a magical little book called The Four Agreement. It was written by Don Miguel Ruiz. What was translated to many languages. Now it's based on the Toltec wisdom, and when I read the book, I couldn't agree more with the fact that it's completely aligned with Judaism. So there aren't any contradiction between these two philosophies. Now, what basically Don Miguel Ruiz said is that we live in a world. I'm going to read you the first little bit just to the little introduction. It says that everything we do in life is based on the agreements we have made. Agreements with ourselves, with other people, with society, and with God. But the most important agreements are the ones we make with ourselves. In these agreements, we tell ourselves who we are, how we behave, what is possible, what is impossible. We say, this is what I am. I can do certain things and some things I cannot do. One single agreement is not such a problem, but we have many agreements that make us suffer and fail in life. The agreements that come from fear require us to expend a lot of energy. But the agreements that come from love help us to conserve energy and even gain more energy. If we want to live a life of joy, we have to find the courage to break the agreements that limit us and to choose new agreements based on love. When we are finally ready to do this, there are 4 agreements we can make that help us reclaim our personal freedom. Based on ancient Toltec wisdom, the 4 agreements offer a simple code of conduct that can transform our lives to a new experience of freedom, happiness, and love. Does that sound like a good book to read?
Very.
It's just a pocket version, but it's slightly bigger. So basically what he says in the beginning is that, as I just read, that we live in a society. We are bound to live according to some codes and agreements, and we all made those agreements in the past, such as I live in this country, I'm Jewish, I need to be successful. All these kind of beliefs that people kept telling us that we should do. Everything comes from goodwill, obviously. There's no evil involved. But the fact that all these opinions, and Napoleon Hill says in Think and Grow Rich that opinions are the cheapest commodity on earth. We all have a bunch of opinions, and the fact is that we don't really make the difference between opinion and reality and truth and etc. So I have a story. Hadassah is something that when I think about who am I'm thinking about I have to justify my existence. I'm saying I'm a mother, I'm a teacher, I own a house, I'm Jewish, I'm a Baal Tshuva, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So I have to justify my existence, and in order to do that, I start counting my characteristics. I'm in a film. I'm running a show. I created the art of me, and I am the main character. And I have loads of supporting actor and actresses around me all the time. People who I know personally, or even people that I never met, but I heard of them. Yeah. So this is just my story. This is just my film. This is my movie. It's nothing to do with reality, because I made it up. I could have made a different story. It has nothing to do with reality. It has nothing to do with the truth. And it's just something that I picked because of what my expectations of myself were, or the expectations of the people I care of demanded from me. But once you agree, like say for some reason, when somebody said you are an evil person, yeah, if somebody tells you that you are an evil person, it doesn't, sometimes it's just enough to hear it just once, and you agree with that. And that's why it's called the four agreement, because you have to agree with that. If you reject that and you say, no, it's not my food, I'm not going to eat it, doesn't belong to me, I don't believe in it. But once you agree with it, and it can be in a subconscious process, then you own it, and then you act on it. So you start behaving like an evil person. We see it with kids all the time. Right? That's why they say in education, they say, if your child lie, don't call him a liar. Because if you call him a liar, then he agrees, doesn't use these words, but they build that concept in their mind. They are liars, they can't avoid it. So it's easy to lie than to tell the truth. So they're just gonna, it's more efficient to tell lies than to tell the truth. So once you agree, then it's a connection, it's a contract. You have to break that contract. So I have loads of things that I think that are part of my film that I say about myself. But the only thing that is real, that is not negotiable or open to interpretations, is that I am here and I am alive. Everything else can be discussed. It's not true, it's not real. And we have over 7 billion people in the world. Everybody wrote their own script. Everybody is running their own show. Everybody is having their own work of art. And they're all trying, to impose their opinions upon others, or to control other people. And we live in a mess, because we all have different stories. It has nothing to do with the truth or reality. So this is how powerful and how dangerous agreement can be. And if I'm linking it into health, because my business is health, and we know that health is not just what you eat, and it's not just how much you are staying exposed to the sun, or if you're fit or not, or if you're in a good weight, if you have health is here as well, is if you're looking through your glasses in a healthy way, that's also health. And that's even more powerful than the physical realm. So we know that the spiritual realm, the mental realm are superior to the physical realm. So if you're wearing the right glasses, this is all natural health. I mean, even though it's a four agreement, but if you're wearing the right glasses in terms of any challenges you have, in terms of, God forbid, you have you experience a loss, you are experience health problems, you experience financial problems, relationship crisis, everything that you can think of. If you're wearing the right glasses, if you're not making those horrible agreements that put you down and demoralize you, then most likely that you will be able to move on, move forward, and not fall down. Now it's something that is very embedded in our psyche, is to a part of in that film. We really want to change. We want to change everything. We want to change everyone, but we can't really deal with the supporting actors in that film, because it's not going to be helpful. The only real way of changing our life and our film is to deal with us, with the main character. That's more than enough. If we change the main character, it's like a ripple effect. Everything will change because we've changed. So this is like wrapping up, just not wrapping up, but this is just the basis of the four agreement. And just to give you a background, why do we need even to read that book? Why do we need to have to learn it? And we know that it involves every single one of us. No one is clean from making agreements that are harmful for them and harmful for the people they love, right? And he says in the beginning, he says that the most dangerous agreements are the ones we make with ourselves. Okay, now because we are all connected, we know this in Judaism, we know this through any spiritual teaching, that we're all connected. So if we harm ourselves, we harm others, and if we harm others, we harm ourselves as well. So it's very, very beneficial, it's very, very important that we will learn to love ourselves and to have loving thoughts, and through that we will be able to spread love to ourselves and to others. And if everybody will just do that, that would be a massive change. The first agreement, there are 4 agreements. The first agreement is the hardest one to tackle, but it's the most important one, and also very, very close to Judaism. And the first agreement is be impeccable with your word. Now, Chafetz Chaim wrote his book about it, and we know how this is the most, in terms of speaking and language, this is something that we still cherish, and we understand that Ilchot Lashon Hara shel Chafetz Chaim, it's something that we are very, very we want to embrace, because we understand there is another saying, in the Torah it says, Mavet v'chaim beyad halashon. Death and life are in the hand of your mouth, your tongue. So be impeccable with your word. Impeccable, it comes from, I think, a Latin word, means sin. So sinless. Speak in a way that is sinless. Now in Kabbalah, when we talk about sin and we talk about avera is sin, avera means that we are avera ma'avir, from one side to the other. We are using energy, we're using Hashem's energy in a wrong way. This is avera, Like, say, for instance, we steal. I mean, the money is there. We just wanted to have the money, but we didn't take it the right way. So that's mistake. We didn't take it right. I mean, we could have it, but we chose to do it the wrong way. This is sin. This is avera. So be impeccable with your word means that every word you say, this is Louise Hay as well, every word you say, but also every thought you think. It's not just the word, because the word is the baby of your thought. So if you're thinking a thought, then it becomes your word, and then it becomes your deeds as well. So every word you say, you have to pay attention that is impeccable. And we talked about opinion, and we talked about control. We all want to control other people because we think we are so smart, and we want to help everybody, and we want to change the world, and we want to do justice, so we're just sharing all this information and all these words, and sometimes in the rush of life, we just spread all these seeds of I don't want to say evil, but these seeds are going to create serious issues for us and for the people who are in our lives. So thinking about every word you say, is it really true? Is it really is it going to create love? Trying to see, Shlomo HaMelech says, Ezeu HaChocham HaRo'eh Et HaNolad. Try to see what is the definition of a wise person. King Solomon says, is the person who can see the future. That's one of them. A person who can see the future. So if I'm going to say that word, is that going to create more love? Is that going to benefit the other person? Is that going to go along with my program, my agenda, or not? And there is, in Judaism also, there is a mitzvah, as much as there is a mitzvah to say something, there is a bigger mitzvah to avoid something that is horrible and useless and damaging. So, and my rabbis say that the two biggest sins are related to your mouth. One is eating, te'avat achila, and the other one is speaking. So sometimes I think, and I say to people, maybe if we just think, because this is what the Chafetz Chaim said, it's just like really keep quiet as much as you can. Then you avoid.
The Chafetz Chaim used to, and there are people, the Manchester Rosh Hashiva used to not speak on Shabbos. If he wanted to know how you are, he would go like that. I personally have been learning Shmirat HaLashon of the Chafetz Chaim for the last 4 years, every day, a page a day, with my niece in Israel. And it does have a big influence on your character. You think before you say something. Even when I came in, I was going to say something about the neighbours, and I stopped myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So that's
powerful, isn't it? What you say is powerful.
But also it has an effect on others.
That's what I mean, yeah.
When people are in your company, they can't just talk about rubbish.
Yeah.
Because you don't respond. Also, the Chafetz Chaim says not to respond. When people talk Lashon Hara, not to show that you're interested, not to join a group of people who just gossip.
I thought he said to run away.
To run away.
Yeah, to just run off.
No,
I'm enjoying your sharing. Yeah.
Yes, so it's very powerful. I know that when somebody comes on the phone to me, I know what it's going to be about this one and that one and that one. And I'm trying not to sound encouraging, and it's such a difficult. And then all of a sudden I go, hey, can't hear you. Something wrong with the phone. I'll call you back. Then there's another subject. So, yeah.
I remember I said to one of my... do you want to say something?
No, I'm just saying that's great.
Yeah, you just say, I'm sorry, can't hear what you're saying.
This is a quite distinct example when you're literally identifying this is bad language, Lashon Hara, gossip, and you don't want to have anything to do with it. But sometimes the line is not so clear. Sometimes like someone wants really to pour their heart and to just open their heart to you.
Yeah.
And that involves also gossip and bad language. And I remember one of the people who I was working with personally, they were literally overwhelmed with so much problems in their lives. I mean, people were just ringing them and just sharing with them horrible stories about, they're true. They were all true. Like, this has happened to me, this is horrible, and my husband did this to me, and this child... So just like, and they were sitting over the phone hours and hours a day and just washing their brain with horror stories, and they can't even help them because they're living over the sea. Yeah. And I remember when I heard them speaking, I said, look, your homework for next week, every week I try to give some tasks so they have to commit, to follow, to try. And so your homework for next week is to, when you get on the phone, when people ring you, yeah, and they start dragging the conversation to a place that is, just demolishing you and draining you of energy, because how much can you hear? I mean, if you are so weak and you're so ill and you personally feel that you are, need the energy, you can't really provide it to another person. Even listening to somebody else's problem, I know from my work that if I'm not looking after myself, I cannot apply, and I cannot take what the other people wants me to be able to embrace. And I said to them, your homework for next week, I'll get very, very, very clear, because it's always, how I'm going to avoid. I cannot just say, well, the line is bad, bye. Because these are family members, sisters and mothers and aunties. I said, when the conversation starts, you can just say, please, can you share with me something beautiful?
Oh,
Can
that
you
is
please share with me something loving, something positive? Can you please? I really need that. Not for you, for me. My consultant advised me that I really need to wash my brain with loving, positive affirmations. And can you please share with me something that is positive? And I explained to them that it's gonna, at some point, it's gonna affect the other person, because they will have to change their eye. I mean, we call it in Hebrew, לשפוט לקו זכות, לשנות את העין, לראות את הכל לחיוב, כן? They will have to force themselves to start judging or avoid judging or trying to really dig and look for positive things. It's healing for them as well. So that's just one thing. Nobody can argue with that request. Oh, can you please, because I believe you have that, so that's a compliment to you. When I say, can you please share with, let's say you wanted to ring me and just take some steams out about your horrible day, right?
Yeah.
And which is absolutely fine. But if it is done through a negative way, like saying, I had a horrible day and I met so and so and they said this horrible remark, and then I felt horrible, and then I made the other person, and then there's nothing about what you said is lying. But if I'm telling you, look, Shoshana, my dear friend, can you please, I need it for my soul, I need it for my health, can you please tell me something positive, something beautiful, something loving that happened to you, or that you just want to share with me? Just share with me something beautiful. It doesn't have to do with you, it can be something you read.
But
then I give you a compliment. Subconsciously, I actually compliment you, because what I'm saying to you, underlying, between the lines, I'm saying to you, I know you have lots of good. I know you're experiencing beautiful things. I know you have the capacity to view the world through pink glasses. Can you just please enlighten me? And then, because you are so down and somebody else is seeing something so powerful about you, oh, they think I'm capable. I have potential. Wow, I've never noticed that in myself. So you raise above yourself, and then you find that capacity in yourself to just talk about beautiful things. That's a healing on its own.
yes, but when somebody wants to offload, they need to offload.
Sure.
So they're not in any way thinking about positive. They're thinking about the experience that they had that is eating them up. Or in the same moment, how can they think of something positive? My reaction to that would be just to listen and then say, are you done? Just to let them talk. Because I know that, let's say I had myself.
Okay.
Am I on YouTube?
Nobody knows who you are, so don't worry.
They know my
Can't
voice.
see you.
Can't see you anyway. Just feel free
They
to
know my
talk.
voice.
You want me to erase that video? Just people
okay.
can
Turn it
learn from you. There's nothing to be ashamed
Okay.
of, nothing to be afraid of.
If I would say to you, I didn't sleep last night. I didn't talk to anybody from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till the phone call I made to you this morning. And it made me feel scared, frightened.
Why?
Because it's the reality. I'm completely on my own. That is the reality. And I couldn't think of one person who I could turn to at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, you know, I need to speak. I need to talk.
But there is a difference between want to talk to someone in order to really get your load off, yeah, and just to pour toxins into my brain, yeah, talking about gossiping, or this is a completely different thing.
Yeah.
But if you just want to show, look, I'm in pain, I suffer,
Yeah.
I need your help. I want you to listen to me. That's a completely different discussion.
Right.
Because
What is that?
this is a soy cheese. It's kosher. I took a yogurt. Would you like a piece?
Would you like some?
Would you like a piece of bread?
No. Thank
Fine.
you.
So this is just.
So what bracha is it? Shahakol.
Okay. Shakol. Okay.
What's it made of?
It's just soy yogurt. That's it. There's
Ah,
nothing in it.
sorry.
It was in a muslin for 2 days, so all the water
Oh,
just.
you made it?
Yeah. You can't buy these things. I mean, you can't buy these things in the shop because it has to have preservatives and salt and sugar and fat because you see it's quite blunt. It's not.
Oh, good.
It's nice if you can add some. It's much better than having a vegan cheese that is processed or to have a dairy cheese, which is heavy. So there is I'm just going back to what you shared. Is there is a difference between taking things off your chest, because it's we learn it in Judaism that the purpose, that one of the needs when a couple get married, the husband and the wife, one of the things that is crucial and deadly is that I am able to get support from my husband. If he's not going to support me by listening to me, by encouraging me, I'm crippled for life. Yeah? And we talked about it last week. We said that in Judaism there is a mitzvah for a man to get married. But for some reason, I need to ask a rabbi, why this mitzvah is only applied to male? Why isn't it applied to women? I know women are more spiritual, but the need is a humane, physical, emotional need to get constant support. Because in the book, there is a rabbi called Simcha Cohen. He wrote a book called The Jewish Home. And he says that in a way we are slaves of our partners because we are just doomed to have their support and encouragement. We have to. If they're not going to give us encouragement all the time, we are just like a slave who didn't get his payment or his food. We're just going to be zombies. We're just going to be crippled. And compliments and encouragement in family is something that suffers from scarcity like crazy.
Absolutely.
So he says that's why we are social beings. We have to be in relationships all the time. A relationship is what keeps us alive. I'm a bit deviating from the subject, but there is another amazing teacher called Dr. Peter Breggin. Dr. Peter Breggin.
Looked him up.
Sorry? You looked him up.
Looked him up.
Did you enjoy listening to him?
I didn't.
You didn't. He said something very beautiful. I'm just going to quote him from one of his lectures. He said something. He's a psychiatrist. But he's a very spiritual psychiatry. And he's working in the field for, I think, about 50 years. He's involved in trials. He's also have a private practice. It's different. But he says that in the first year of our life as babies, we are not growing only upon our mother's milk. So a baby is born and he starts feeding on his mother's milk, and he gets bigger and he's more developed and he grows and he gets mature. But if you think about it, then you actually notice that it's not the only thing that makes him that feeds him is the mother's milk, because he's surrounded with so many people around him that love him and care for him. So the brain gets bigger, the body gets bigger, everything gets bigger, yeah? But it's not just through the mother's milk, it's also through the love and care of other people around him. So he said, we are not made up of our mother's milk, we are made up of each other. Our makeup is the society, is the relationship that we are exposed to. And for some reason, all of a sudden, we become individuals, we become private, we become isolated. We want to have our personal space, and I'm separate from you, and that's horrible cut to our existence. And if we understand that this is our makeup, we are made up of each other, then it will be much healthier for us to seek for relationship all the time. People who are mentally ill, people who are very, very isolated. It's very hard to nourish a mental illness if you have loads of even if they are really troubling relationships, because like Y.Y. Jacobson says, he has a lecture called Happiness is a Serious Problem. I listened to it on before Shabbos. Happiness is a serious problem. He says that relationships are messy. And I love that sentence. Relationships are messy. This is, there's a joke. He said there was a joke that it's very good. It's a great thing to have a large, huge, loving family in another town. So, excuse me. So relationships are messy. They are, they're not smooth. Relationship with, we fight with our kids, we fight with our parents, we fight with our partners, we fight with our friends all the time. But if we come from the point of view that we have to have a relationship, it's not negotiable. It's not, okay, I don't like you anymore, so bye, I don't want you in my life because you just stabbed me in the back, 18 years ago, or you just said the wrong word, or if I cut you from my life, I shorten my life in a way. So if you understand that, like you breathing air, and it's deadly and it's crucial for your existence, if you view relationship that way, you are marching towards health. So this is how we were made up, this is how we were born, and something along the way taught us that we have to be more independent because we are capable and we have confidence and we can do this and we can do that. And no, dependent, it's like Hashem in Judaism. It's another lecture that Rabbi Menes Friedman explains that Hashem is vulnerable. And he had an argument with a Talmid Chacham that couldn't hear that word. He said, what do you mean Hashem is vulnerable? Hashem needs us. He said, no, vulnerability is a weakness. He said, only in humans' conceptions, vulnerability is a weakness. Because in humans' language, when you're vulnerable, then you are weak. But in godly language, vulnerability is not a weakness, because it can do without us and it can do with us. The fact that you need some doesn't make you weak, but we associate need of somebody with weakness. And we can see it in partnership, we can see it in marriage, that I don't think it's weak to be able to express my needs. This is my psyche, this is my structure, this is my design. We are social beings. It's a weakness not to live according to your makeup. It's a weakness to ignore something so huge about you. That's a weakness. But if this is part of me and I need you because I'm a social being and we are all connected and I'm made up of you, then not to ask for it, not to express it, that's not a positive thing. So that's why I was so touched by what he says, Peter Bregan, when he said that we are made up of each other. That was very, very powerful, because it just brought me back to how life starts, and we are so dependent. And I mean, human beings, the baby of a human is the most dependent creature on earth. If you look at all the other species, they walk on the first day of life, they can walk. They stand up, they walk, they can, they can turn to their mother, and if they are mammals, they can nurse themselves, or they can. We are the only species that it takes us 2 years to feed ourselves. A year to walk. We are so dependent on one another, not just on our mother. And for some reason along the way we just forget about it and say, no, we can thrive on our own. We can't. So before you judge yourself and say, I'm a wreck, I'm useless, I'm deteriorating. Just make sure that you've done everything that was in your manual, like making sure you have great relationship, loads of relationship. Make sure you know.
That doesn't happen overnight.
No.
I got rid of somebody in my life not long ago, and it was because I just was covered with negative energy when I went out or saw her, and I didn't feel I had the strength to be able to support the relationship. It was too heavy for me. So
That's a very wise
To let it
decision
go.
coming from awareness.
Yeah.
So you knew it's bad for you.
So how do I go out and make relationships? Actually, I've got a lot of friends, Baruch Hashem, but not at 3 o'clock in the morning.
But if you feed yourself throughout the day, then you're satiated in the night. So if
Yeah.
you eat well throughout the day and you nourish yourself throughout your active hours, then it's more likely that you will have a good night and restful sleep. And I know if I wake up in the night because I need to use the restroom, and then I find it hard to go back to sleep, is because I have some troubling thoughts that I don't know, maybe things I need to do, or maybe things I haven't finished, and there are burning issues. But if my day I was happy with my day, I would say, okay, thank you for the wonderful day. I'm going to wrap it up with a ribbon and I'm going to go to sleep, because there's nothing I can do at the moment apart from not preparing myself for tomorrow. So I'm just going to leave everything aside so I can recharge and get my strength back, and everything will wait for tomorrow. And and I did whatever I could. I mean, I've done the best I could, and if it wasn't the best, I will try tomorrow to do better. But there's no point. I mean, when you talk to yourself, when you talk to these troubling thoughts like this, there's no argument. So there is always something we can do, and even acknowledging the problem is half of the solution. So let's say I identify that I have a problem with relationships and I need more to go out and about, because I can talk from personal experience that I really enjoy my own company. I have loads of books to read, I have loads of rabbi to listen, and it doesn't end. I mean, the amount of curiosity I have to learn and to read, like I've never done it in my whole life, took a book and read. I mean, in school when we had to do a book review, I couldn't. It was pulling teeth. It was so hard for me. But now I feel like all I want to do is to read. And if I'm doing things, I'm listening with the earphones, and then in Shabbos I read all Shabbos. But I have to be out and about as well. I have to be a part of the community. I want to help the community. So first I need to be a part of the community. But it's not really, it's not really convenient. Sometimes it's more convenient to be tucked in your own corner and not dealing with anything, not building relationship, not nourishing, not listening to other people. So,
but you're married with a family, so the building is there in the family.
you can still be very lonely inside a family.
Yes.
You can still be very lonely inside a family.
Yes, I know.
I do strongly believe that it's very hard to entertain a mental, and we're all mentally ill. We all. I mean, mental illness is not someone who is in a madhouse. We all have mental issues, and I strongly believe, from what I've learned, not just from Dr. Peter Bregan, but literally from the Torah, from every philosophical and religious and spiritual book and teacher, that we have to have a lot of relationship, or meaningful relationships.
Meaningful.
Not loads of friends, but meaningful relationships. Someone that we can always
Definitely.
turn. Yeah.
Can I speak? I have a group of five of us. One is a doctor with a very, very autistic child. The other one is a mother who's few children have gone off the dairy.
Okay.
Another one is a mother who has another problem, yeah? And there's me. And there's somebody else who have no idea what her problem is, but that's fine. And we get together once a week and we read something inspiring. We go to, not Brackman's, we go to MH, the coffee place, and it's always empty. We sit there, we talk for about an hour. It's like food.
Therapeutical.
Yeah.
So I would suggest, if I were you, to do it more often, because if you,
Yeah.
then it means that it's so meaningful for you, and you probably could do with more. Once a week is not enough.
No.
Let's say you had it every day. Try to imagine how would your life look if you had that every morning, just to kickstart your day. That would be fantastic for your, for your mental poise, for your vitality. But maybe you had an agreement with yourself saying that they probably are too busy. They don't have time to do that every day. They have to go on with their lives. Maybe they have different needs. But it's our responsibility to literally try to turn the reality around us, or to. It's not being selfish. It's not about vanity that I need, give me. I mean, be a part of community. It's not selfish. It's not a selfish thing.
No.
So maybe not them, maybe a different group, but if you already identify that it's so healing for you, and so it's such a powerful thing for you, then you can't leave it alone. You have to, because we said we don't change a winning team. You know that it works for you, it does good to you. You go home, you feel better, you feel positive. It's not that you took a drug to suppress your problems.
Yeah.
You did something wrong in every aspect that you can spot. Then you have to hit it hard. You have to find another avenue, something similar to that you can.
Yeah.
You have to. Give me more.
Now, I do have a friend who we said we would have breakfast every day and start with. You must know Sharon Levinson.
Yes.
You know Sharon. We just haven't got around to it yet. Well, she would be up for doing something every day, I think.
Wow.
Sorry,
Sounds like a good connection.
You remember Sharon?
Yeah.
She was.
Great.
Maybe
I do need something every day.
we all do.
Yeah.
We all do. And if we don't, then we have to understand there are going to be consequences. So I'm trying to drag you to drugs in a way, because I just want you to wrap your head around why they do more harm than help. Why do they just? Because let's say I have that need of having more social connections with other people, and everybody's busy, and I don't want to be selfish, and I don't want to nag people into, and maybe I don't have the confidence of sitting on the phone and, you remember about having an affair with your phone?
Yeah. I'm really bad. I don't contact people. I'm very isolated.
Are you?
Yeah. But I'm having a love affair with my phone.
Really?
You have to.
It's my homework.
Now,
Hate my
maybe
phone.
Yeah.
you have an agreement you made with yourself. Maybe you told me, I remember. You had an agreement, because, we have to think about us as children. When we were kids, did we have a problem ringing to our friends? Never.
I also have a terrible problem with the
No,
phone.
when we were kids, when we were
Didn't have a
small children. Let's say, don't take
Yeah.
me literally. Did we have a problem asking for people to be with us as girls and boys, as kids? in nursery or in first grade. We never had these problems. But then our parents told us, oh, don't nag them. They don't force yourself on people. Yeah, just don't. They said no twice. Probably need to make your own conclusions about that. Maybe they want to be polite. So we plant these seeds of guilt and shame and fear of rejection, which is one of the biggest fear we have. The fear of rejection put us off of so many beautiful things we can do to ourselves, because we are, and okay, so somebody said no, so is it really deadly? Is it really like it's gonna bleed? You're gonna. One of the agreement here, we only touched the be impeccable with your word, but one of the agreement is never take anything personally. So if somebody said, you know what, your dress is horrible, this dress doesn't suit you, or I don't know, what you're wearing today it's too much, it's, I don't know, it has nothing to do with you. And that's hard for people to grasp. It has nothing to do, it's something in their own view, that they have problem with being, I don't know, wearing wrong colors. They have problem with fashion. Maybe they have problem with the way they look. Maybe they have problem with their weight. Who doesn't? But even if somebody says your name and then da 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 about you, that's not a personal insult. We were brought up to think that it is, but actually it has nothing to do with you. It's they're projecting their issues upon you. Because if they didn't have any issues and they were okay with everything and they were total free spirits, full of love, peace, and there's no way they would say that such a thing. So we have to remember that when every time somebody rejects us or every time somebody criticizes us, I'm not saying just don't listen. I mean, there is information there, but don't take it personally as an insult or that is something is wrong with you. And we do it to our kids. Oh, personally, I'm doing these horrible things all the time. I mean these books weren't made just for, they were made for every single one of us. We were brought up. I lived in a house, then these things happen, and I grew up in a school that these things happen, and you know, girls, they always gossip, oh, she said that, and you know, don't talk to her. It's all around us all the time. But as I said in the beginning, that we are the main actor in the film. We are the main character, and we don't have to wait for anyone to change, any supporting actor or supporting actress to change. We can just refuse to make agreements with things that makes us, you know, sad and weak and demoralized. Just understand. Once you understand that it's an agreement.
If you have somebody in your house who oozes and talks negative, and they're a relative,
but you have to buy into that.
Throw them out.
You have to buy into. So if you have someone that is your close environment and is spreading bad vibe or bad energy, in order to say that it affects you and that it creates some kind of reaction, you have to buy this. You have to agree with it, because you have a choice. You can, even though it's in your reality, you can just refuse to, not saying to ignore it, I'm just saying you can refuse to let it affect you. And that is something that is in your hands. So if you have someone that is arguing with you and screaming and shouting, you can say, okay, I'm going to scream and shout and argue back, because this is the vibe and this is the energy and this is the language. Or you can say, I choose to, regardless of what the other person is, the language he uses or the energy or the anger, I can just choose to have a different conduct, and I can either speak in a quiet tone, I can keep my word clean, and I can just refuse to let that affect my choice of how to conduct that interaction with the other person. Sometimes we get so drawn into the scene, we feel that it has to be that way because the other person is that way, and we just forget that we do have a choice. But it's something that I would suggest that every single one of us, when they caught into that kind of vicious cycle or situation that we feel that we are, and I think we all can look in the past and see some kind of events that we felt that we were forced to behave like the other person. And if we observed enough and if we had a chance to really reflect on that, I would suggest that we still had a choice in every single interaction and in every single moment in reality. We have a choice to either buy into the program, buy into the thinking pattern, buy into the agreement, or we can just choose to free our mind and to be open up to any other possibility. There is another teacher which I literally speaks on that matter very, very accurately, and his name is Dr. Bruce Lipton. He wrote a book called Biology of Belief that was also translated to many languages, including Hebrew, and he has loads of videos on YouTube. Dr. Bruce Lipton, do encourage you to hear his work. And I'm very grateful for listening today, and I hope this was useful for you. And with God's help, next week we will discuss the rest of the book. Thank you.